I thought I'd have a go at the wheels. I want to replace the wheel bearings in these. This is the front wheel. But first I've got to get the bearing out. So that's the speedo gauge, or whatever you want to call it. Not the gauge, the yeah, bit grim in there. I've bought a wheel bearing puller. Now I've used one of these before, but not this type. The one I used before was like a slide hammer sort of puller, and it was a cheap Chinese thing, and all the little collets broke. I did get the bearings out in the end, but it was a nightmare. Now proper bearing pullers, they're incredibly expensive, and when I only need to really pull, 5 bearings out, I just can't justify the cost. So I've opted for one of these ones. Now this is a bit more graceful than the hammer slide one. Essentially you fit the correct size collet onto this bit here, and then you just tighten this guy up and then slowly wind this up, and this should pull the bearing out sort of gently. I'm hoping that's the case. I know these again are the same cheap Chinese materials, so I'm a little apprehensive, but realistically I'm not going to spend hundreds of pounds on a proper bearing puller for one job. And to be honest, if anybody else is doing this job and watching this video, they're likely to buy something similar to this. So if I can get this working and at least demonstrate how it's used and it helps somebody, that'd be great. So let's give it a go. Alright, in case you need instruction on how to use this bearing puller, because there's no instructions, most people just leave a review and say they didn't know how to use it and they went on YouTube. Basically, you get these with it. You want to find the one that's the tightest fitting. Now I've used this one. This one doesn't fit in here unless these little like tolerance gaps which allow it to expand, unless these are compressed, this doesn't fit in. So what I've done is I've basically put it in at an angle and forced it through. It's so tight, this won't come out on its own. Like, there's no way. That would need significant force to pull that out. Now if you do that anyway, because those little prongs can compress, that will just pop straight out. So your next step is to get this guy here. Now this inserts inside this and forces those little legs to push outwards against the bearing and the lip underneath. They've got like a, you'll see they've got like a little lip on the end here. It forces that underneath the bearing. So if you've got 2 bearings layered on top of each other, you kind of want to get this guy so it sits between them. You kind of need to feel for where that goes. Now I haven't got a spanner big enough to grab this collet at the bottom, unfortunately. I think it's like a 27 or a 28. But I do have this one, which is a 17. So basically I'm just going to tighten this guy in here. I'll get it the right way around. I'm going to nip that up, and that is going to force those little prongs open to press on the outside, well, the inside, I guess, of the bearing. Now, don't know if you can see in the bottom. You definitely cannot. So the next step now is to get this guy screwed into this guy. So I need to readjust these legs. And you want to put these so they sit nicely, nice and square on the edge of this well, on a flat surface essentially. Just going to tighten these down, let it wiggle around. And the goal here is to hold the nut still, and turn, hold the bolt still and turn the nut. So, hold that guy, and then this guy. I can't remember which way to do it. And then what happens is, because it's cheap Chinese crap, it just explodes everywhere. And that is the end of the bearing puller. Yay! Oh yeah, also, wear eye protection. Not just because the bearing puller explodes because it's cheap, but because there's a lot of force being put on these bearings. So what you don't want to happen is this thing coming flying out straight into your eyes. Just gonna chuck, what did I get off here? So I've got the axle spacer thing. I've got another wheel spacer. Got the Speedo cable thing and the Speedo ring. I'm gonna put them in a bag, and they can go on the shelf for cleaning later. So full disclosure, I did actually try the bearing puller out on the other side, and it did get the bearing out. So I thought I'd record the side I hadn't done to just show how it's supposed to work. As I say, I mean, it varies. You just go slowly, and it does extract the bearing quite nicely. But like any tough type of bearing with these cheap bearing pullers, they just die like immediately. This is completely fallen to bits, knackered. So if you're in my situation and you've done that, if you've managed to remove one and you can see the other one, what you can do is get your drift. This is the most useful tool I've had on any bike build. Get your drift, line it up with the bearing in there, smack it on one side, smack it on the other side, and it comes out. The main issue, you can see this one was quite rusted. That's why it gave that bearing puller such a hard time. I'm probably going to send it back, see if I can get a replacement for that particular collet. I mean, look at the state of it. Yeah, it's just exploded. But like I said at the beginning, these are cheap metal, cheap made in China tap. But the bearings are out. I mean, I now don't have the thing to do the back wheel, so that's kind of annoying. But I'll probably just drop the seller a message and say, this broke, do you have a replacement? And then buy a replacement off him. But yeah, that's not great, is it? But I mean, they're cheap for a reason. You get what you pay for. I had this issue before. My last bearing puller was one of the, with a slide hammer. So same sort of thing. You attach the slide in here and you smack the end of it, and the force pulls the bearing out. Same thing. These ended up either pulling straight through the bearing, or they ended up shearing exactly like this. kind of a waste of money, really, especially if you plan on using it more than once and you end up buying another one. But to be fair, this thing I think cost £13 off Amazon. I tried to get one. I knew what it was like, so I tried to get one that had decent reviews. But I know what the metal's like, I know what the quality's like, so I wasn't expecting any of them to be any good. But yeah, this wheel is now free of bearings. The bearing surface in there looks quite nice. I just need to get these old oil dust seals out. And then it is a case of doing the back wheel. Now I think the back wheel was a bit more of an awkward one because it's got 3 bearings in it. So hopefully I can get one of them out, and then I can just tap the other ones out using the drift. But yeah, this is pretty poor, but I wasn't expecting anything different, to be fair. So hopefully I have better luck with the back wheel. Might actually be lucky here because the rear wheel uses a smaller inner diameter bearing to the front wheel. So the one that exploded isn't actually the one that I need. It's the next size down, the one that I need. So this is the one where there's 2 bearings. So if I show you on this one, hopefully I can get this going. So put the first one in. First step. Next, you need the little leg spreader. Always like a good leg spreader. Right. So what we got here? What size is this? Keep your drift handy. Let's get my things on. All my tools are underneath the wheel, obviously. Right, this is, can't use that one. 17, 19. So yeah, tighten this up, but don't go mad. Just nip it up. That's pretty tight. I'm not going to go too much past that. You just want to give it that force to push it outwards. Alright, now we get this guy. Oh, I need to adjust these legs. This has 2 little, this one has 2 little bolts. I just want to loosen those up, but first I want to screw this guy in. Right, so I've got the bearing puller on here now. Don't remember what size this was. I think it was a 17. No, it's too big. 14. Where have my 14's gone? There it is. So hopefully you can see down here. I don't know if you can see down there. There you try. This is now screwed into this. And now you tighten, you hold this one still, and you tighten, you turn this one. With these, what that will do is these legs will then push against the edges here. And the only force that should be able to move is the bearing coming out. So let's give that a go. I don't remember which way around this has to turn, so I'll try both ways and hopefully we see something happen. Okay. Hope if this wheel would stay still. Okay, so if they've been in there a while, they can crack like that. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can. You should start to be able to see the bearing lifting out. Yeah, I'm just turning this, you know, nice and slow, keeping it level. Eventually, there it is. There you go, you can see on the underside where it's just pulled. Looks like there's only one on this side. That's the axle in there. We can take that out now. And then there's the other bearing. I think there's two on that side. So it could be slightly trickier. But let's give it a go. Well, let's get this thing set up again. So I've got my little collet thing. This bearing is super wide. So I think this is going to go all the way in. I'm just going to listen for that little, there we go, that little click. So that is all the way in there now. That is sitting between the first bearing and the second bearing. So now we get this guy. He goes back in. I'm going to get this one on. Right. Okay. That looks okay. So this is tightened inside this is tightened inside this is all the way down. This is the bit where we start to pray. That's turning. Oh, I can see the grease shifting. I think we're in luck. Okay, the bearing is lifting out. That is a good sign. What I didn't think of was this leg is in the way of the bearing actually coming out. So hold please. I just loosened this nut, pulled the bearing up a little bit so it shifted this leg out of the way. So hopefully you should be able to see this guy coming up. That's very loose now. There we go. Bearing out. See, it does work. It does work, but sometimes when it doesn't work, it explodes. So that second bearing, I forgot, is under this plate where the drive rubbers are. So yeah, basically it's just a case of prying this off. And then you've got access to this one. So hopefully this all goes well, and then we are done with removing wheel bearings. Because to be honest, that is my least favourite part. Right, got this one set up. This is the last one, so hopefully I'm approaching this with cautious optimism. Hopefully it just comes out. Oh, there's the crack. I can see it moving. I think we got lucky. Look, I'm going to be honest. Out of the two types of bearing pullers I've used, blind bearing pullers I should say, this one is the one I prefer. It's just a bit more graceful, but again, it's made of cheap metal, so you just got to be kind of careful with it, I guess. And there we go. That's the last one. That is all the wheel bearings out of the wheels, ready for new bearings. I'm pretty happy with that. Right, I'm just going to tidy this mess up and then just give a brief overview on this bearing puller. Yeah, be back in a minute. Right, that's going to be it from me. That's all the jobs I want to do today for these wheels. I'm not going to clean them up just yet, but I will do that eventually. but probably just before I reinstall them. I'm thinking of maybe painting some bits of them, but anyway, that will come in good time. This bearing puller, is it great? No. Is it rubbish? No. I mean, it did the job. It got all the bearings out. Can't complain. This one, I mean, this broke on the last bearing on the front wheel. It's just the walls are too thin on these things. They flex too much and then they snap. I will contact the seller and see if I can get a replacement one, because I am going to need it for that bike eventually. I mean, did it do the job? Yes. Did it do the job and survive? No. So, yeah. I mean, what to say? I wasn't expecting it to work at all. The issues I had with my previous bearing puller, the collets, when you used the slide hammer, it would absolutely put so much force that the collets would compress more than they should have done, and then they would pull straight through the bearing. I had 2 of those snap in different places. Let's see if I can give you an example. So on the slide pull one, it's sheared just here. So this bit stayed inside the bearing, and this bit completely sheared and pulled away. You can kind of tell why though when you look at how thin these, the walls of this material is. Once it's got a good grip on the bearing, and then the force is just too much for around here on the slide hammer ones, and it just completely shears off. On this one though, there isn't that force. There are large forces at play, but you're applying them really slowly. It's just in this case, this one particular, I don't know if this was a defective one, or I don't know, maybe it just couldn't take it, but this bearing was quite rusted in, but I mean it wasn't that bad, so I would have expected it to survive a little bit. But anyway, they're all out, no crazy dramas, so that I'm pleased about. Yeah, I mean, what's next for these wheels? I'm going to clean them up. I might paint the hubs on them, I don't know yet. I might paint all the wheels, I don't know yet. I don't know if I'll get them stripped. I don't like the paint that's on them, so maybe I'll strip them, I don't know. If it doesn't cost too much to get them blasted, maybe I'll do that. And then, yeah, paint them myself. That might be pretty good. But yeah, I've got new bearings on the way. Yeah, I mean this one was okay. This was the first one, and this one was quite rusted. So this is the one that gave me trouble and ended up destroying that little collet. Anyway, that's going to be it from me for the wheels for now. Yeah, thanks for watching.